so many of our listeners out there, whether you're already producing tons of video content or you've been holding back because you don't know where or how to start, like me, Tamira is going to be sharing why video content is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal and how you can use it to connect and convert. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or just want to increase the effectiveness of your video content, then you'll want to listen in. Tamira Hamilton is not only a seasoned sales and marketing professional with over 3 decades of experience within the corridors of several Fortune 100 companies, but she is also the driving force behind the revolutionary Pin Profits Mastery program. With an educational background that boasts both a bachelor's and master's degree in marketing and finance, coupled with her distinction as a certified content marketing strategist, Tamira's expertise is nothing short of remarkable. In 2013, Tamira transitioned from a single mother of 2 young girls to an entrepreneurial trailblazer. Over the past 5 years, she has cultivated an influential online presence, amassing a social media following of 50,000 and a flourishing personal brand. Tamira's passion and purpose resonate deeply. She's committed to liberating mothers from the confines of workplace politics and the corporate grind, empowering them to monetize their unique skill sets. Tamira, I am so excited to talk with you today, and I cannot wait to dive into this topic. I think it is going to help so many of our listeners today. So thank you for joining me.
And thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, before we dive in to all of the questions, maybe it makes sense to start here just talking about what is Pin Profits Mastery Program. I just want to start there, and then we'll kind of flow into the video content. I know I'm going a little out of order, but
That's okay.
that kind of has me captivated in the intro. So we're going to start there.
Awesome. Well, Pin Profits Mastery, I created that a little over a year ago, and I sat on it for several months. It really is about my journey with Pinterest and how I was able to monetize Pinterest. And I actually resurrected my Pinterest in 2018, 2019-ish. And video was a huge part of that. And so what Pin Profits Mastery is, it's a 6-module program now that takes you through understanding the Pinterest algorithm, understanding what makes Pinterest different from all the other platforms, and that it is a visual search engine. And I would say we're in Pinterest 2.5, 3.0, where video and short form video is a huge piece of that. And so what this course does is it really walks you through how to optimize your existing content and get it onto Pinterest. And then from there to really grow a flourishing Pinterest and really drive web traffic and email marketing, building your list using Pinterest by not only taking that existing content and repurposing it and resharing it onto Pinterest, but also optimizing and creating new content, because your ideal client, I can think of just about anything where your ideal client would be on Pinterest. And so many people don't realize that, and they don't realize the power of Pinterest.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that leads into what so many of our listeners are trying to do and know what the best place is to go. But I think that just really drives into that video content too, and making those simple shifts and doing the simple things like you said, repurposing your content, because so many of us have tons of content that sometime on Facebook or Instagram is there and gone in 5 seconds, where Pinterest, it can live on, or on our website, it can live on and be repurposed. So thank you for starting there. But really now let's dive into more about what makes video content powerful for driving conversions, especially compared to other content types.
The reason that video is powerful for conversion is because it is the quickest way to build that know, like, and trust factor. Because I can see you, I can see your face, I can see your body language. Over 93% of communication is nonverbal, and you can see that with video. Plus, I think a huge part of it is most of us, I can't think of too many that would be listening to this that have not grown up watching television and being conditioned to watching commercials, right? Even with things like, I was thinking about TiVo the other day for some reason, because my friend was all about TiVo back in the day. But even with DVR and things like that, we still, what do we love about the Super Bowl? the halftime show and the commercials, right? So we're pretty conditioned to building that know, like, and trust with video, and it just builds it exponentially faster. And that's why webinars have always been so powerful, is because it's that know, like, and trust, that visual. And you can really tap into most of the senses, and you can even create a fake sense of smell with video if you know what you're doing. Because my belief, my theory is the more I can pull out and draw out the more of the five senses from a person, the more likely they are to build that know, like, and trust, as well as convert. And I also want to point out too that a conversion is not just a sale, right? Conversion is getting them to do anything that you ask them to do. So whether that's like, share, follow, engage in some sort of way, that is all a conversion. Same with joining your email list, joining any community that you have, including Facebook groups. A conversion is anything to me that takes a person from where they were at the beginning of that video to you taking them to the next step. And that's why I always say it's really important to be intentional with your video. And I bring this up because I want everyone hearing this to understand that you want to be intentional, right? When you're creating your video, that's one of the first pieces that I teach in any of my programs, is to be intentional. Where is this person on the buyer's journey that you are targeting with this video? It doesn't mean that's the only person that's going to watch it, but the person that you're targeting, where are they and where do you want to take them to next? You have to begin all video with that if you want to get that conversion. So you have to begin with the end in mind with the conversion.
I love what you're saying. And that's often what I say to my clients and my people too, is be intentional. And just because you're talking to that one person doesn't mean you're going to leave everyone else out. It just allows you to be so much more powerful. And it allows you on video, like you said, just to create that connection, that deeper connection, and bring out those five senses, because we know that emotion is what drives people too. And so the more that we can share a story and be on video, I think that's so, so, so powerful. Love how you were bringing up different examples too. So do you have any like stories or wins where video content strategy kind of significantly helped to boost sales, either for you or a client, or just how it's made a difference?
I have numerous stories, but I still think the most impactful was a micro video in 2015, my first real viral piece of content. And it was a Facebook video, and it was faceless, because, that's the big buzzword these days, is everybody wants to create faceless content, which it's so funny to me because historically marketing is faceless. So that just makes me laugh every time I say it or hear it. But yeah, so it was a 15-second, not even 15-second video makeup clip. And it got over 3 million views. The first month it was like 300,000, and within days it just kept going and going and going. And my Facebook group grew from 400 people to over 2,000 in just a matter of days. And the sales were just incredible. I mean, it really changed the trajectory of my business. And so that's why I like to give that example. And I have numerous client stories where we've repurposed podcasts using things like Opus and put that words on top of the video screen, and really used AI in order to find out, along with analytics, to get the right piece of clip and turn that into a little 15 seconds, sometimes up to a minute video, and seeing how that's grown their email list, seeing how that's grown the leads that they've been able to collect, and grow their following as well. Because that's the other thing that makes video so powerful these days, is that you can go to just about any platform, including Pinterest, including TikTok, including Reels, including Shorts. And anyone who is well-versed on any of those platforms will tell you the same thing. If you want to get in front of new eyeballs, which we all need, short form video is the fastest and the most impactful way to do it. The algorithms all favor that. for you to get in front of more people. And so that story of the little 15-second contouring video is my favorite. And I love because it was around this time of year back then when all those memories pop up because it really
Oh,
changed
yes.
things in my business.
I love that. And do you have like a specific strategy behind? I know you said repurposing somebody's podcast or something that they've done and taking that little clip. Like, where would you begin to decide what part should you use or how to use it in short form video?
There's different types of short form video. And so it's going to depend on that because the first thing I'm going to do is set my intention. Who am I targeting and where do I want to move them to? The one thing I will say is universal across all of them is starting with a really strong hook. You have to start with that powerful hook, which I'm sure you know from a copywriting standpoint, but that strong, powerful hook at the beginning is always going to be key. When it comes to repurposing and resharing content versus storytelling or creating brand awareness or educational or how to, it's more so going to be looking at your analytics, right? Because if you have that content that you're repurposing, that's the one thing that you have is you have the data from the original piece of content. And what is that original piece of content telling you about this video? Where did it peak? For example, where if it was, I repurpose a lot of live videos in my own business, where was the peak engagement in that? And the cool thing is, like, if you go live on TikTok, it will tell you, it will automatically clip it for you based on engagement. Did you have the most viewers on here? Where did you get the most comments, the most likes? And so you can turn that into a piece of content because if a lot of people were commenting based on something you said, they're likely to do that again with this clip.
Thank you. I'm just like thinking all the things as you're talking. So a lot of the listeners here are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, doing a lot of the things yet on their own. So how can businesses with limited resources start implementing some of these strategies or the high converting video content strategies you're talking about? They should
The
follow.
great thing is with short form video, it's typically low production. Like I said, you can repurpose your existing content. I've got hours, hundreds of hours of live video from over the past 10 years. And I'm constantly just going back and repurposing it. I've seen a mentor of mine who's in a completely different space do the same thing between coaching calls, between courses, masterclasses, workshops, live video, podcasts, interviews, and features and blog posts. I asked you that for this micro summit. Will I be able to use this content? And it's in the contract that I can. Doesn't mean I wouldn't have done it, but I like to know that ahead of time because that helps me in creating my content. And so the great thing is it's very, very low production. And now with AI, things like InVideo and ChatGPT and Opus, and there's other ones that are out there where you can quickly and easily repurpose your existing content. You can have AI help you with your video scripting, for example. Something like InVideo will take stock videos and it will write a script for you. First of all, I prefer to write my own because somebody told me I'm a pretty good copywriter.
Yes, you are.
And so I prefer to write my own. And then I can still go in and swap out some of that stock video screenshots, right? And I want you to know too, you can do things. One of my favorite things to do with short form video these days is green screen background. That is so powerful to do what I call news jacking and take, like, the big thing right now is the talk of TikTok being banned, right? So taking screenshot from reputable, trusted news sources and having that as the background and giving my spin and my take on it is so, so powerful. And you can do the same thing even with video. There's so much that we have in the palm of our hands with our phones these days that it can just be really quick. I had to tell myself earlier today, Haley, Tamara, stop overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. Just make the little green screen and throw it up. If it's great, great. If not, do it again. That's the other thing people don't realize with especially short form video And even your longer form video in the beginning, start with low production value, right? Not quality, but low production value. That is what's really going to make your audience connect with you. Because I think about influencers that I followed from when they were doing low production value. As their production value increased, I started to feel less and less connected with them and kind of stopped. Didn't always stop following them, but I stopped really paying attention to the content.
That's so interesting. And I think it's so true because when you say that the topic and the theme is all about those simple shifts that we can make to really increase those conversions. And like you said, conversion doesn't necessarily mean a sale. It's just that having our audience engage with us, because we know the more they engage, the more they're going to build that know, like, trust, and then eventually become a client. And so like you said, just not having it to be so complicated where you have to have the perfect equipment and all the things. Like, start with your iPhone and give them that value. Just do things that either you already have, or like you said, what's your spin on a hot topic right now? So I love that you're bringing that in there. It's the common mistakes you see people making with their video content that could be hurting them rather than helping them.
Two things, and one of them is going to stay a little bit. Okay. Number one is not doing video, not doing short form video, being intimidated by it. And there's ways, like right now, again, faceless video is dominating and killing it over on Instagram. But I will tell you, in over 10 years of doing this now, at some point you got to turn and face that camera and talk to people, and you can make eye contact with the video. So that's the number one thing, is not doing it and not doing it consistently. I'll tie those two together. And the second one, I'm going to say it's going to hurt a little bit, especially in the solopreneur, the coaching and author and speaker space. And that is, they outsource their video way too soon. They outsource it way too soon. They're more concerned with little gifts and little things popping up on the screen and not actually following a precise format that becomes predictable and that they become known for, that people begin to follow them and become a part of their community. Because the other thing I'm going to say, number three, would be chasing the trends, because there's always multiple different personas. And then there's the persona that's always chasing the trend because they're chasing the rush of getting a bunch of new followers and saying they got millions of views and all these views, but then they're not getting conversions because it's not targeted, right? And so you want to be really, again, intentional in who do you serve, how do you serve them, and where are you taking them to next. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is people end up with, I was watching another creator on TikTok the other night, and she was saying how one of her new clients has 74,000 followers, which is more than her, right? She only has like 22,000 followers on that platform, but she makes more money than the person with 74,000. The person with 74,000 hasn't even made $1 yet with her following. We want to move from worrying about our following to building our community. And community is made through connection, and connection is what converts.
That is gold right there. And yes, number one, I feel like you're talking right to me. Like, I just need to get past my like fear of being on the camera or that I'm going to say something wrong and just do it. Because nobody can see us, but I bought this nice little tripod and a ring light and all this stuff because I'm like, I'm going to do it. And it's been sitting here for a while now and I haven't done it. But it's like one of those things where you think you need all the things, but no, you don't. You just have to take your phone and do it and stop being afraid.
And because we're recording this and I can see your office, I'm going to give you some homework because I see that sunlight flooding through that window. All you have to do is go stand in front of that window, hold that phone up, and just say what you have to say. Your first video can be, hey, this is Haley. I am scared out of my mind. I cannot believe I'm doing this, but this is day one of me doing 30 days of video. Make sure you're following me so you can see my journey and know this is how I started right here today.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much. And I know there are other listeners out there that we should give that same exact challenge to that need to get started and just do it. And the other thing I loved that you said was, again, just going back to being intentional, but also not like following the trends, because so often I think it's like shiny new objects syndrome, where it's like, ooh, that now I need to be doing that because that must be working for them because they have tons of followers. No,
Yes.
do what works for your audience. What does your audience need? What's the transformation you're going to give to your audience? So those were extremely helpful.
Just want to add, make sure you're optimizing your video for search. Search is so vitally important moving forward. And if you're not optimizing for search, you're going to have a lot of those challenges with building community. The other thing, and even following, the other thing I would say with that is that you want to make sure that your content is discoverable by the right people. And that again goes back to being intentional. If you're not doing that going forward with all the stuff that's going on with these platforms and them competing, you're really going to get lost in the sauce. And when you optimize for search, you have to let go of, I always forget if it's dopamine or serotonin, the rush of getting all the followers and the immediate engagement. It may take some time for that content to cook, but man, when it gets hot, when it starts steaming and boiling, it can literally power a locomotive and completely change your business and life.
That's amazing. So do you mind giving just a couple little tips of like, what do you mean when you say optimize it for search in your video?
Meaning, do your keyword research, first of all, and knowing your ideal client, they kind of go hand in hand. You got to know who you serve first, then that's going to lead you down the keyword path. And then you want to make sure you're using those keywords in your audio, on the video, on the screen, in the title, in the description. So really making sure that the algorithm understands. So often, I really hate the word algorithm. I really operate as if it doesn't exist. I say, I am the brand, I am the content, I am the algorithm, right? And so the reason that is because I know my ideal client and I'm serving them, not the algorithm.
I like that. And that's super helpful too, because I know that was new to me. I didn't understand that you had to like include it even in the audio, but Facebook is listening. Everybody's always listening. So they understand what you're saying too. So that's super important.
And there's a lot of auto transcription happening. And I brought that up because we think the algorithm is this big hairy monster that doesn't want to put our content out there. And a lot of times we're just confusing it. It doesn't know who to serve it to. So we have to make it easy for the algorithm to know who to serve our content to.
Wow, that was huge. Thank you. So then going from that to the title of our talk today is Cinematic Sales. So how important is storytelling? We've talked a little bit about it today. How important is storytelling? And do you have any tips for crafting those stories or helping?
Oh, yes. Cinematic storytelling is going to make or break you moving forward if you don't know how to tell a story, right? And so you at least want to have a hook and then tell your story. And it could be the story of a product. It could be the story of, this is how I wash my face, right? It could be the story of, this is how I make my coffee in the morning, right? But you could start with a hook. And I was just watching another creator in her latest thing because she's really nailing down her predictable format. Think about it. Your favorite sitcom growing up, you knew how that sitcom was going to go. You might not have known the exact storyline, but you knew exactly how it flows. Same with your favorite game show. The Price is Right has followed the same format. Yes. For a very long time. And so you're literally creating your own show. And within that show, you're going to tell a different story every time. So you can always have a very similar opening hook, such as a question. If you're really struggling with creating cinematic stories, you're definitely going to want to watch this video to the end. And if you watch to the end, I have something very special for you at the end. And then for me, in the middle, I'm going to introduce my lead magnet, or do it at the beginning, like you moved to the beginning of this micro summit recording, right? Move it to the beginning, or I'm going to strategically place it throughout the video and not wait until the end. So telling your story, you want to tell it authentically. Because I don't consider myself a very entertaining person, but I do have a little bit of personality. And I know how to amp it up and bring it into the story. And so that's what you want to do. If there are key phrases, I always go back to like Mariah Carey calls her diehard followers lambs. Beyonce, it's the beehive, right? Taylor, it's the Swifties. So create your own little language in your own little lingo. Some people are really good at telling stories in a very fast pace and creating that energy. I tend to sometimes speed up my videos just a little bit to do that. So that it has a cadence and it has an energy, but it's always, again, the alpha and the omega is going to be your ideal client. It's going to be intentional. You're going to have that hook, and then you need to have that call to action, but don't wait until the end for that call to action. Drop that throughout the video, especially if it's longer form content.
I love that. And it goes well so much with like what I teach too about emails, or when you're doing a post on social media or anything like that. Like a hook is so important because there is so much noise out there. I mean, as you're scrolling, there's tons and tons of stuff. So we need to make them stop. Or with emails, your subject line has to be curiosity. People have to want to open it, or all the amazing things you put inside, nobody's going to read. And then it kind of goes with that storytelling too, but it's keeping it with that one idea. So you're not coming in with all this stuff in one video where it's the hook, the story, and the call to action. And it doesn't have to be in that order, but just that it's that one idea that you're bringing people to and always having a call to action. I know that you teach this as well, but that call to action doesn't always have to be the sale like we talked about. And I say that in the emails too, is like, it doesn't mean you're selling every time, but you want your audience to engage with you. And I'm assuming that's the same thing that you share and teach and talk about as well, where it's just building that engagement.
It absolutely is. And as you know, I am an email marketing machine. Like I love email, even from the beginning of someone getting on my email list. I've already gotten them used to taking direction from me by getting them on my email list. But one of the first emails I send them, ask them to reply back to the email to let me know that they got it, right? And there's genius behind that madness. That is helping me show up in their inbox and not in their promo folder when I do that. But people love that, and they start having conversation with me, and I get sales just from doing that and having that one-on-one conversation. So often we're so caught up in going viral. And this is really at the micro level that a lot of us are. It's really about how can I generate more conversation with people who want to be in conversation with me versus cold calling. My entire career, both offline and online, has been about that because I hate rejection. So how can I stir up more fish? How can I stir up the water to stir up more fish who want to have conversation with me?
That is so true. And just connection. Everything comes back to connection. It's all about building that connection with people, because just like another interview in this summit was all about like showing up in the DMs, but there's a way, just like with video and email, to do it where it feels good and you're connecting with your people and you're building that engagement, where it doesn't feel salesy or slimy or markety, but it's just all about sharing your offering your service in a way because you love what you do and you know that it impacts others. So
exactly.
I think that's so important. And that kind of leads us into like, how do you measure the effectiveness of your video content? And I know you've talked a lot about like just that building that engagement, but are there specific tools or metrics or things you use to make it easier?
I always look at the insights on the app. Everybody's going to be at various stages. When you're starting out, one of the first things you want to pay attention to is your watch time, because your watch time is really what's going to help your video get in front of more people. And so before really short form video, I would always advise someone, if they were on YouTube, to start with videos no longer than 3 minutes, because then you can really play on watch time by doing videos of 1 to 3 minutes. And by doing that, it's a lot easier to get to 100% completion of the video if it's 3 minutes compared to an 18 or 20 minute video. So you want to start, and that's why micro video reels and shorts. Shorts can easily be repurposed into short form video, just saying, and not short stories can be easily repurposed, right? And so start with really short clips. The shortest you can do usually is between 4 and 6 seconds, right? So start with your watch time. From there, I'm going to look at how many views, not views, my reach. How far is my video reaching, right? Because I can't get reach if I don't have watch time. So I want to get watch time, and then I want to get reach. And from reach, now I'm looking at, am I getting people sharing? Are people commenting? Not for vanity's sake, but to help make my videos more efficient and perform for me right out the gate. Because the better you can get at getting a video, and I learned this years ago, there's a thing called velocity. And the more people that engage with that video and doing things, sending the algorithm signals like saving and sharing in the first few 15 to 30 minutes of that video, the much greater chance of that video going wide. Another word that just kind of scratches my soul is viral, right? It's not so much about viral, but I do want it to reach far and wide. It's like casting a net. You want to cast that net far and wide to scoop up more fish. And it's the same thing with your video. So those are the main things I would say that people should be concerned about in the beginning, is your watch time and your reach.
So do you have like a specific length that a short form video should be as people are getting started?
Yeah, I would say 6 to 8 seconds.
6 to 8 seconds. Okay. I know I could sit here and talk to you all day about this, but I'd love to leave the listeners with just like maybe one tip for someone who's like just getting started with short form video. And then maybe one tip for those that are doing short form video, but just want to increase their effectiveness because maybe it's not working or not engaging. And I know that wasn't in what we talked about, but I have put you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, if you're getting started, that's the number one thing, is to just get started. Start with little quick, either transition videos, because that's a great way to storytell, is a before and after, and just having that nice transition. And you don't even have to say much on those, right? Another one is the word walls, quote unquote, are doing really well, where you have a faceless video and then you just have a really strong hook and message in writing on the screen, really big, like something attractive, like you would see, on a billboard or something, for 6 to 8 seconds with a nice early trending sound. That's a great way to get started. And I gave you a faceless option, so I gave you an out. There's absolutely no excuse to not get started. If you're looking for more engagement, it's going to go back to your call to action. And the great thing about video is, even if you forget to say it in your script or because I riff a lot. My riff, what I call riff, is just me just turning the camera on and saying what I got to say. And not always negative, but, just saying what I have to say. And if you forget to do your call to action when you're speaking, you can put the words on the screen. Anything that you say in your script that's messed up, you can fix by just putting words on the screen.
That is genius, because a lot of times people probably watch it with those sound off. And so
yes,
the words on the screen do a lot as well.
Yes. And definitely use your captions. Either put words on the screen or captions. Turn the captioning on.
Awesome. Well, Tamira, this has been so helpful. And I know you have an amazing free resource for our listeners that they can find over on the speaker interview page. So if you're registered, you'll have access to that link. But do you want to tell us a little bit more about your free resource?
It is a great tool that quickly gives you, in just 2 pages, I believe, 8 tips on increasing your social media engagement. Because I always say, content is king and engagement is queen, and the queen rules the house. So
Love that.
I can't take credit for it, and I can't give credit for it because I've heard so many people say it, but I do live by it. And so it's going to give you these 8 tips that are going to apply to your content in general, whether it's video, because you still want to do things like carousels and you still want to do image posts and that too. So I have a very engaged audience, especially on Facebook. And so I share my 8 best tips to help you get that engagement without being creepy or gross about it, like we see so many people do, or clickbaity either.
Yes. Well, thank you again so much, Tamira. I know our listeners got so much value out of our conversation today, and I did as well. So I appreciate you having you on here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Wow, that was an incredible training packed with actionable tips and growth strategies. I encourage you to take notes and start implementing these strategies to convert your leads into clients starting today. Be sure to head over to the speaker interview page where you'll find your free resources from each expert. And don't forget to mark your calendars for Wednesday, May 1st for my live Sales Page Accelerator workshop, where you'll get insights into specific strategies,